Kyiv, 4 a.m. missiles, a promise, signed, broken, 190,000 troops, 3 fronts, Bucha, MH17, Konstantinovka, hundreds of drones, every night. Ukraine gave up its nukes, its capital is still burning. February 24th, 2022, 5 a.m. Kyiv time, Vladimir Putin appears on Russian state television. He announces a special military operation. The word invasion is illegal in Russia. Saying it out loud carries a 15-year prison sentence. But the missiles do not care what they are called. They hit Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Odessa simultaneously. 3 fronts open at once. From Belarus in the north, from Russia in the east, from Crimea in the south. The largest ground invasion in Europe since World War II has begun. The Russian plan is simple. Kyiv falls in 72 hours. Zelensky flees. Ukraine surrenders. That is the plan. It does not survive contact with reality. What follows is not a 72-hour operation. What follows is 4 years of the most brutal land war the world has seen since 1945. And by 2026, it is still not over. The drones are still flying. The missiles are still hitting Kyiv. And the question that started all of this, does Ukraine have the right to exist, still does not have a final answer. February 24th, 2022. The Russian military crosses into Ukraine on 3 axes simultaneously. In the north, armored columns roll through Belarus toward Kyiv. In the east, forces push into Kharkiv and the Donbass. In the south, troops advance from Crimea toward Kherson and Mykolaiv. The operation is designed to be over before the West can respond. Shock and awe. Decapitation strike. New government installed. Done. It fails within the first week. Ukrainian forces, trained by NATO advisors for 8 years, since 2014, hold the line at every major axis. Javelin anti-tank missiles destroy Russian armored columns on the roads north of Kyiv. Turkish Bayraktar drones hunt Russian logistics convoys. Russian forces run out of fuel. They run out of food. A 64-kilometer armored column north of Kyiv stalls completely, visible on satellite imagery for the entire world to see. By late March 2022, Russia withdraws from the entire northern front. The battle for Kyiv, which Russia expected to win in 72 hours, ends in Russian retreat after 33 days. When Ukrainian forces enter the town of Bucha after the Russian withdrawal, they find over 400 civilians dead. Many are bound. Many are executed at close range. Bodies are found in basements, in streets, in yards. The International Criminal Court opens an investigation. Arrest warrants are eventually issued for Vladimir Putin himself. The word atrocity does not cover it. The images from Bucha change the political calculus of the entire war. Germany, which had not sent lethal weapons to a conflict zone since World War II, reverses its policy overnight. Finland and Sweden apply for NATO membership. The West commits to Ukraine in a way nobody predicted on February 23rd. The blitzkrieg is over. The real war is just beginning. By summer 2022, the war transforms. Russia abandons its multi-front strategy and concentrates everything on the Donbass. The battle for Severodonetsk lasts weeks, street by street, building by building. Russia takes it, Ukraine withdraws, Russia takes Lysychansk. The front line stabilizes into something that looks like World War I. Trenches, artillery duels, incremental advances measured in hundreds of meters. Then Ukraine strikes back. September 2022, Ukraine launches a surprise counteroffensive in Kharkiv Oblast. In 4 days, Ukrainian forces retake more territory than Russia had captured in 4 months. Over 8,000 square kilometers liberated in less than a week. Russian forces abandon equipment, ammunition, and position so fast that Ukrainian soldiers find meals still warm on tables in abandoned command posts. It is the fastest territorial reversal of the entire war. November 2022, Ukraine liberates Kherson, the only regional capital Russia had captured. Zelensky walks into the city personally. Crowds wave Ukrainian flags. It is the high point of Ukrainian military success, but the cost is catastrophic on both sides. Russia responds to its battlefield failures with a new strategy: destroy Ukraine's infrastructure. Beginning in October 2022, Russia launches systematic missile and drone strikes against Ukraine's power grid, heating systems, and water infrastructure. By winter 2022, millions of Ukrainians lived without electricity for up to 18 hours a day. Temperatures drop below -20 Celsius. The goal is to freeze the population into submission. Ukraine repairs its grid faster than Russia can destroy it. The population does not break. 2023 brings the counteroffensive Ukraine in the West had planned for months. It fails to achieve its objectives. Ukrainian forces push into heavily mined Russian defensive lines in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Progress is measured in kilometers over months. The West had hoped for a breakthrough to the Sea of Azov, cutting Russian supply lines to Crimea. It does not happen. By the end of 2023, the front line has barely moved. Both sides dig in deeper. The war of attrition tightens its grip. 2024 changes the nature of the war permanently, not because of a major offensive, not because of a diplomatic breakthrough, but because of a technology that neither side fully anticipated would define the conflict: the drone. Ukraine begins producing first-person view drones, FPV drones, at industrial scale. Cheap, fast, lethal. A single FPV drone costs $400. A single Russian tank costs $3 million. Ukraine destroys hundreds of tanks with drones. Russia adapts. It begins jamming drone signals. Ukraine adapts back. The electronic warfare arms race accelerates faster than any weapons program in modern history. But Ukraine goes further. It develops long-range strike drones capable of reaching deep into Russian territory. In 2024, Ukrainian drones hit oil refineries in Saratov, Ryazan, and Krasnodar, hundreds of kilometers inside Russia. They hit the Engels Air Base, home to Russian strategic bombers, twice. They reach the outskirts of Moscow. Russian air defense systems, designed to intercept ballistic missiles and aircraft, struggle against slow, low-flying drones that cost almost nothing to produce. Russia responds with its own drone escalation. The Shahed 136, an Iranian-designed kamikaze drone, becomes Russia's weapon of choice for infrastructure strikes. Russia launches them in swarms of 50, 80, sometimes over 100 in a single night. Ukraine builds one of the most sophisticated drone interception networks in the world. Air defense crews work through the night, every night. The sound of air raid sirens becomes the background noise of Ukrainian life. August 2024. Ukraine does something no one expects. It invades Russia. Ukrainian forces cross the border into Kursk Oblast, Russian territory, and capture over 1,000 square kilometers. It is the first time a foreign military has occupied Russian soil since World War II. The operation is designed to force Russia to redeploy troops from the Donbass front, to demonstrate that Russia's territory is not invulnerable, and to give Ukraine leverage in any future negotiations. Russia is caught completely off guard. Putin calls it a provocation, but the Ukrainian flag flies over Russian towns for months. By the end of 2024, the front line in the Donbass is under severe pressure. Russia has learned from its early failures. It now advances slowly, methodically, using human wave tactics and overwhelming artillery. Ukrainian ammunition shortages, caused by delays in Western aid packages, create gaps in the defensive line. Russia pushes toward Pokrovsk, a critical logistics hub. The situation is serious, but Ukraine holds. By 2026, this war has outlasted every prediction, every timeline, every ceasefire proposal, every diplomatic initiative. It is still here, and it has entered a new phase, one defined not by dramatic offensives or sudden breakthroughs, but by something more relentless. Industrial-scale drone warfare, grinding attrition in the Donbass, and missiles falling on Kyiv in the middle of the night. This is what 2026 looks like. Russia has intensified its offensive across the Donetsk front. Its forces are pushing toward Konstantinovka, a strategic stronghold whose fall would open the road to Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, the two largest Ukrainian-held cities in Donetsk Oblast. Ukrainian forces are conducting evacuations in surrounding towns. The pressure is relentless. Russia advances slowly, but it advances. Every kilometer costs thousands of lives on both sides. The math is brutal and it does not stop. Meanwhile, Ukraine has answered with the most sophisticated drone campaign in the history of warfare. Hundreds of drones, simultaneously, across more than a dozen Russian regions in a single night. Refineries burning in the Urals, fuel depots hit near St. Petersburg, drone strikes reaching the outskirts of Moscow. Ukraine cannot match Russia in artillery shells or manpower, so it has built something Russia cannot easily defend against: a drone army that strikes everywhere at any time at a fraction of the cost of conventional weapons. The logic is simple and devastating. If Russia can hit Kyiv every night, Ukraine can hit Russia every night. And Russia is hitting Kyiv. In 2026, the bombardments of the Ukrainian capital have intensified to levels not seen since the early months of the war. Massive missile strikes, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, Shahed drones hit residential neighborhoods, historic sites, critical infrastructure. Civilians are killed in their apartments. Hospitals are damaged. The city's air defense network intercepts the majority of incoming projectiles, but not all of them. Every morning after a strike, Kyiv counts its dead and begins rebuilding. Every night, the sirens return. The strikes are not random. They are designed to do three things simultaneously: destroy Ukraine's ability to sustain the war effort, break the morale of the civilian population, and signal to the West that Russia will not stop regardless of the cost. So far, none of those three objectives have been achieved. Ukraine's defense industry has expanded dramatically. Its population has not broken, and Western support, though slower and more contested than in 2022, continues. Here is what the numbers look like in 2026. Russia has suffered close to 1.2 million casualties, killed, wounded, and missing since February 2022. More losses than any major power in any conflict since World War II. Russian forces advance at an average of 70 meters per day in their most active sectors, slower than the Battle of the Somme in 1916. Russia controls approximately 20% of Ukrainian territory. Its economy, propped up by oil revenues and war spending, grows at 0.6%. Its manufacturing sector has contracted for 7 consecutive months. It has 0 companies in the global top 100 by market capitalization. The sanctions have not collapsed Russia, but they have hollowed it out from the inside. Ukraine has lost tens of thousands of soldiers. 8 million refugees remain outside the country. Its economy has contracted by over 30% since 2022. Its cities have been bombed for 4 consecutive years, and yet it is still fighting, still producing drones, still holding the front line, still in Kyiv. The diplomatic picture in 2026 is this: there is no ceasefire. There are conversations, there are proposals, there are back-channel communications, and public statements about openness to negotiations. But neither side has reached the point where the cost of continuing the war exceeds the cost of stopping. Russia still believes it can grind Ukraine down. Ukraine still believes it can make the cost high enough that Russia stops. Both calculations may be wrong, but both sides are still making. What we know for certain is this: the war that was supposed to last 72 hours has lasted 4 years. The country that was supposed to collapse in days is still standing. The army that was supposed to be the second most powerful in the world has lost nearly 1.2 million men. And the capital that was supposed to fall on the first morning is still there, bombed, scarred, exhausted, but still there. February 24th, 2022, 5 a.m. Kyiv. The missiles are already in the air. Zelensky is still in the capital. He is asked to evacuate. He refuses. He records a video on his phone. Standing on the street in front of the government, he says, "We are all here." That video is seen by hundreds of millions of people. 4 years later, he is still there. Here is the full weight of what happened. In 1994, Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons for a promise. In 2014, Russia broke that promise and took Crimea. In 2022, Russia tried to take every. Ukraine fought back. The West responded. Russia lost its blitzkrieg. Ukraine lost its counteroffensive. Both sides lost hundreds of thousands of men. And in 2026, the drones are still flying. The missiles are still hitting Kyiv. The front line in Donetsk is still moving, 70 meters at a time. Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. Russia invaded anyway. The war was supposed to last 72 hours. It has lasted 4 years. Kyiv was supposed to fall on the first morning. It is still standing. If this gave you something you didn't have before, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Now check the next video.